Hello lone wolves, how are you doing? My last video called I haven't had a date for over 2 years evoked a lot of response, so I decided to create this video as a follow-up. Based on a few comments, I want to talk about a phenomenon called romantic love, because I think this lies at the root of modern day relationships between men and women and our obsession with dating. I will give you some insights coming from Buddhism and explore the question whether or not we should avoid romantic love. But before we begin, here is a message from my sponsor. With the Gillette anti-man ad, man-shaming has now gone to an unimaginable height. It seems inconceivable that a company making men's shaving products would publicly shame their male customers. In the age of #MeToo, it's time to fight the man-shaming with a show of pride. Red Pill Ring offers you a constant reminder that you are proud of being a free man and that this gynocentric world full of entitled snowflakes can kiss your ass. You can buy a ring at redpillring.com. Use promo code WOLF for a 5% discount. So I want to start with the first comment, which was done by Spatsbait, and I quote, "A very honest and insightful monologue with many truths dispensed in it. I'm 9 months deep of being single and I wouldn't want it any other way. However, the parts about nihilism and extreme detachment is where I'm at. Much of it comes down to more than simply a lack of relationship though. Every lie I discover tends to turn me off a little bit more from life in general. I was in a relationship in one form or another from 1994 to 2018. I have no plans to ever return to any intimate relationship again, and saying that doesn't so much as budge an emotional response from within me. It may sound funny, but I'm finally beginning to understand Buddhist monks and their detachment. When we regular people discover all the lies, we begin to get depressed and think less of life. Monks are those who seem to have realized all this and make peace with it. In fact, maintaining that peace is their whole life's work. Anyway, an honest and well done piece." End quote. Thank you Spatsbaits for your comment. It's an interesting remark you made about Buddhist monks. Like I said in the previous video, it was actually Buddhism that red-pilled me in regards to romantic love. I think that romantic love is very similar to a disease, since it affects mind and body significantly. The core of this condition is the natural urge to reproduce, creating these bodily sensations that make us happy and attracted to someone of the opposite sex. One problem is that these sensations are highly addictive. So, in fact, when we are in love, we are not attracted to a certain person, but to the sensations that this person evokes in ourselves. According to the Buddhists, attachment is the root of suffering. Romantic love isn't real love. It's attachment to that initial high that occurs at the beginning of a relationship. So-called love addicts, although I think it's not the right term, love addict, are addicted to that high and seek to perpetuate it by hopping from one relationship to another. They don't experience real love because real love doesn't really make you high. Real love comes from a place of acceptance and compassion. When you truly love someone, that love is long-lasting and unconditional. Romantic love is the opposite of that. It's highly, highly conditional. Romantic love can change into hate in a heartbeat. If you ever fall in love again, try this. Send a text message to the person you're in love with and watch what happens when that person doesn't return the text as soon as you had expected. Your love will turn to anger, frustration, and even hatred. You can go from "she's the most fantastic woman in the world" to "I hate that bitch" in a day. This doesn't sound like love to me. It's more like BPD, which is a personality disorder characterized by rapidly changing emotions. The Buddhists saw the effects of romantic love on the human mind and body a long time ago and identified the phenomenon as lust and attachment, not love. At the same time, it's part of life. We can either avoid it, which would be the most convenient and wise, and that's why monks do it, so they maintain peace of mind. On the other hand, we can embrace romantic love when it overcomes us and navigate through it intelligently, realizing that we are temporarily, quotation marks, disabled. So the next comment is from X Noir 7. I pronounce it the French way. I don't know if that's correct, but he says, and I quote, "My friend, solitary wolf, we must create our own meaning. You aren't missing out on a thing in terms of relationships. Trust me, you will find yourself if you sacrifice comfort for the time being. In time you sacrifice, you will become security." Or I think he means secure. AKA sacrifice money for freedom, sacrifice time for savings. End quote. X Noir, thank you for your comment. I thought this would be a good follow-up to the previous story, and I want to continue talking about romantic love and relationships a bit more. I agree, we should create our own meaning. And then you say, and I quote, "You aren't missing out on a thing in terms of relationships. Trust me." End quote. Well, in practical terms, I think you are right. If we look at it from a distance and rationally, we aren't missing out a thing in terms of relationships indeed. Without a woman, we have more money, more freedom, more time for doing the stuff we like. If there's one thing I've benefited from in regards to MGTOW, it's, besides focus, the abundance of time to spend on my own things. These are things like health, creative pursuits, but the flip side is that the experience of life then is a bit dull. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's just, a bit meh. If we look at the history of human beings, the times when the Homo sapiens went out of Africa and started spreading around the world, exploring new lands, getting themselves into trouble, and, like the last century, going into space, we can conclude that we are thrill seekers. And thrill seekers are generally a bunch of fools. They are attracted to the unknown and want to do stupid things. In my 20s, I did a lot of stupid stuff too, which rationally I shouldn't have done. However, stupid stuff often made me feel alive. And that's the thing with romantic love. You will feel absolutely and intensely alive. Although, intellectually, it's absolutely stupid and absurd. Staying away from women means that you deprive yourself of that high. That's what you're missing out. It's the same as with drugs. We know that a shot of cocaine will make us feel great for a while, but we know it's unhealthy and stay away from it. I think romantic love is different from cocaine in many ways, but you get the picture. The problem with our culture, however, is that romantic love is elevated to the status of the ultimate concern. This used to be God, by the way. And I think it's much healthier if it is God, because God is forgiving, compassionate, and constant. Romantic love is nothing of that. Still, for many of today's men and women, romantic love is a huge thing to sacrifice. But by doing so, you'll get a lot of peace in return. Let's go to the next comment, which is by Deuterium X. He says, and I quote, "My problem is, I find the wooing like a burden and harsh path to walk it. When I try to approach and be chivalrous with women, I received rejects and tantrums by response. The simple task of, trying to convince a woman to date with me, love me, make sex with me, is a disadvantage itself. I find this process a nightmare. The only way this would have been easy is if women won't be so narcissistic and overvalued. But this is just a dream because I can't change what the modern women are." End quote. Hi, Deuterium X, thank you for your comment and your many other comments. Personally, I find it a bit difficult to react to comments like these because there are different ways to approach this situation and it's up to you to choose. I know how you feel though. I've had periods without much success with women, but I've got periods with some success as well. My late 20s were my golden age in that regard, and I'm happy I've had that. Not only because I've got these life experiences that no one can take from me, but also because I've learned to see love and relationships for what they are. These are potentially beautiful experiences, but not worthy to be elevated to the status of ultimate concern. Therefore, I would rather follow the Taoists and their Tao, the Buddhists and their enlightenment, and even the Christians and the Muslims and their God, than making romantic love the ultimate goal of my life. On the other hand, I think it isn't bad to experience this yourself and learn about the nature of romantic love. If you already have, perhaps you could see this experience in another light, seeing it for what it is. You talk about the process, and I assume that you mean the process of approaching women, asking them out, etc. Yeah, it's shitty nowadays, but what I can remember from my glory days is that we would see the fun in the shittiness. I had to drink a few beers to pull this off, but sometimes I really made a sport of getting rejected. At one point, you don't really give a shit anymore, and that's when it gets interesting, because women are attracted to that. Also, if your ultimate concern in life is something else than women and relationships, who cares if you get rejected? You've got your thing, your life, your mission. This is much more valuable than a drug called romantic love. Another thing I want to say to you is stop dreaming. Women are women. You can't change them. It's better to accept reality and see where it goes and make the best out of it. The nature of romance is just another red pill, which is swallowed by the Buddhists for about 2,500 years. The most important thing to remember is that romance isn't the same as love. However, I wouldn't advise anyone to avoid romantic love, because that's entirely up to you. I think it's important to be aware of what's happening so you can mitigate its effects. In the end, it's part of being human. Thank you for watching. Keep it solitary. Goodbye.